Wright State basketball has a new radio home on 1410 ESPN Radio and 101.5 Hank FM. Don't miss the Raiders all season long with Chris Collins and Jim Brown on the call. For tickets to upcoming home games, visit WSURaiders.com.
You want hot takes? No, I'm not going to apologize to Ryan Day. Everything we said about Ryan Day up into the playoffs was true.
Not bad. Come on, Kenner. You can do better than that.
To be fair, of all the elite quarterbacks in the NFL, Joe Burrow is the least accomplished.
Getting better.
1,000,000%. I 1,000,000% believe that the Dayton Flyers are afraid of the Wright State Raiders. That's why they come up with every excuse in the book not to play them.
There it is. The hottest take of them all. It's the Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers, live on 1410 ESPN Radio.
I absolutely love when breaking news comes down at the start of a show. Content, baby. That's what it's all about. Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome in. It is the Justin Kinner Show. And yes, we have a new partner. Yes, we have a new sponsor. I want to give a shout out to our new friends. I shouldn't say new friends. They've been a part of what we've been doing here for an absolute long time. But to be a part of our afternoon show now, Frickers, the official sponsor and partner of the Justin Kinner Show, weekdays from 3 to 6 right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. Again, happy Monday. Welcome in. A ton to dive into here today. We're going to get into some Reds talk coming up around the corner. Spring continues. Some stars are having breakout starts to the season early in spring. Gotta love it. Others not so much. Should we give more attention to those who are doing well, or should we panic about the ones who aren't? We'll get to that coming up here in just a little bit. But a lot of Bengals talk and a lot of Bengals headlines to dive into to open up the show here today. Let's start with this. Okay, it's been a busy day for the Cincinnati Bengals. We knew that they had already cut Sheldon Rankins last week. We had discussed that in detail. It was not a surprise that Sheldon Rankins is no longer a part of the Cincinnati Bengals. But they did make it official earlier on today that they did release offensive lineman and guard Alex Kappa. He made 50 starts for the Cincinnati Bengals since arriving in Cincinnati back in 2022. Of course, look, that frees up quite a big chunk of change as far as their cap space is concerned. And they're sitting at $69 million as far as what they have available to spend as far as that's concerned. So that's something we'll get to more coming up in a moment, because the Bengals seem to have a lot of money. They don't have any big contracts. They don't have any big major dead cap hits. So what the hell is the problem? Why are they finding it so difficult to get these extensions done? We'll get to that more coming up in a moment. Although this one hasn't been made official, Mike Hilton appeared to kind of bid farewell to Cincinnati earlier on today on social media. Mike Hilton could potentially be another name to keep an eye on. And that one wouldn't be a surprise. I think Mike Hilton's name has been mentioned at times as a potential cap casualty when it comes to the Bengals. Not a surprise there. Has not been made official. I haven't seen anything along those lines. Alex Kappa for sure cut. Sheldon Rankins for sure cut. Sam Hubbard, according to some reports, is being dangled out there via trade, but will most likely be cut as well. The Bengals sitting here at $69 million before some of these other cuts that could potentially be coming. They could be freeing up close to $90 million cap space when it's all said and done. So the big question is, you have all of these cuts coming. You free up all of this cap space. Why the hell should you be excited? Why the heck would you be excited? What are they doing with the money that they free up? The thing is, this team has no bad contracts. They have one major contract, and that's Joe Burrow. It's not a small contract. It's $55 million a year. I completely get that. It's the highest paid player in the league, or the highest paid quarterback, second highest paid quarterback in the league, whatever. Bottom line is, it's a lot of money. But they don't have anybody else. We just watched a team win a Super Bowl that has like 6, 7, 8 guys making some major dough. They just won a Super Bowl. and they're consistently winning their division. They're consistently in the Super Bowl conversation. It can be done. So it was announced just literally right before we started the show today, T. Higgins, that the Bengals are going to slap the franchise tag on him again for the second straight season. Now, I need to stop saying breaking news. I don't know about you. If you actually think that the Bengals slapping the franchise tag on T. Higgins is breaking news, I don't think you understand how this stuff works. It's not breaking news. It's not a surprise. Even if the Bengals get an extension done, this just gives them more time to make sure that they get the extension done. And if they don't get the extension done, this just gives them more time to seek out a valuable trade piece that they can go and better this roster. I am not of the belief that T. Higgins needs to be a Bengal in 2025. You guys know this. I'm not going to budge on it. I think it's weak of Joe Burrow to come out and continue to say, I need T. Higgins. I need T. Higgins. Because apparently having the best wide receiver in football, that is just not good enough. You need T. Higgins as well. I'm here to tell you, I don't believe so. At $30 million a year, you could plug so many other holes on this roster, holes that exist. That's because and that's obvious because they've missed the playoffs the last 2 straight years. So a lot of activity, a lot of things to keep an eye on when it comes to the Cincinnati Bengals. Tommy Pennington right off the bat from the top rope says the front office is trash. Tommy, I'm curious, why is the front office trash here? I'm not defending them. I just don't think this is a bad move. I don't think it's a bad move. I also think it would be a bad look if the Cincinnati Bengals got a deal done with T. Higgins before getting a deal done with Jamar Chase, which we will get to more of that coming up in a moment as well. But yeah, Tommy, I don't understand what you're mad at here. The front office is trash. Why are you mad that they put the franchise tag on him? I think that no matter what, even if they got an extension done, I always anticipated this to be the case. I think they have 100 and something days now to get an extension done. I hope that they don't take all 100 plus days of it. I think it's in their best interest to blank or get off the pot, right? You guys heard that expression, blank or get off the pot. Not allowed to use the word I want to use because, FCC and all that fun stuff. But they need to make a decision. The thing that's frustrating is, why are they so far on a deal, though? This is where I can get on board with you, Tommy, from the standpoint of, okay, the trash situation, the vibe that's going on. I don't think slapping the franchise tag on him is trash at all. What I do find to be trash from the front office is this isn't difficult. We are just casual, everyday people sitting at home, sitting in our cars, sitting at work, and we understand the dollar amount that it's going to cost to keep T. Higgins. What is this magical number that's being floated around that the Bengals just can't seem to grasp? Are they far? Why are they far apart on a deal? It doesn't make sense. You either want them or you don't. I don't even think this should be that difficult for T. Higgins or Jamar Chase. You either want them or you don't. Well, they got to negotiate this, that, and the other. No, you don't. It's kind of a market league at this point. You know what Jamar, especially for Jamar Chase. Why they don't have a deal done with him by now is beyond me as well. But the T. Higgins thing, I think there's a lot of people overreacting to this news right now. I have no problem with the Bengals slapping the franchise tag on him. I think it's smart. It gives them more time for, to dot some I's and cross some T's. But the problem I have is what are those I's and what are those T's? What exactly are they trying to figure out? I think that T. Higgins, who basically just tweeted out a little bit ago, tag, period. That's it. No elaboration whatsoever, because there really was no elaboration needed. It was pretty simple. He's not happy. I get why he's not happy. But man, oh man. So let's go to the comment section. By the way, the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. They are the new sponsor of the Justin Kinner Show, which we really appreciate them jumping on board, of course. And we'll tell you more about some specials that they have coming up here in a little bit. But T. Higgins gets the franchise tag slapped on him. And a lot of people, I think, are overreacting to this. And the reason I think you're overreacting to it is because you're surprised by it. I don't know why you're surprised by it. I think we had all saw this coming as far as that goes. But go to the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page, like, subscribe, follow along. That's where you could watch the show weekdays from 3 to 6 and interact in the comment section. So Matthew Sense, Matthew, how are we doing? Matthew Sense says this was always going to happen. Be aggressive to get it done by next week. If not, the deadline is the draft. So Matthew, I think you and I, who usually we're opposed on a lot of things, we're on the same page here. I'm not surprised that this franchise tag happened. It needed to happen. Now, I do get the argument of, why do you need more time? don't you know what he wants? Give him what he wants. I don't know. And what he wants, what is he willing to wiggle on? I think that's the big follow-up question there. Ron Howard says that the Bengals have their priorities mixed up, need defense. I think every move, I saw people overreact to some of this stuff too. I don't think concentrating on one position right now is a problem. It's an isolated situation. This T. Higgins thing is something that has to happen. You can't say, well, our defense was bad, so we can't focus on Jamar Chase or T. Higgins. I think that all of these moves have to happen in a particular order for them to be able to address the team as a whole. So I'm fine with that. Matthew Sense says, you know what it is. It's guaranteed dollars as far as the holdup when it comes to all this. Yeah, I mean, from that perspective, yeah, I guess you're right. I guess it is pretty simple. It's the guaranteed money in the sense that that's why last week, when everything seemed so hunky-dory with Duke Tobin, and I was bummed I couldn't be on the air last week with, again, Red Spring Training preempted a lot of shows last week, but I was really bummed I couldn't come on and address that because Duke Tobin came on and he said all the right things. He agreed with Joe Burrow. He agreed that they need to pay and extend their guys. You know, he wants to be aggressive in free agency, saying all of these things. Put your money where your mouth is. Like, what's the holdup? Stop being a mouthpiece for the organization and doing the whole, do you work in PR or are you the general manager? Because last week, he made all of you feel like they were trending in the right direction. And I felt they were trending in the right direction. And I'm a hater. But I felt last week, I was like, man, Duke Tobin's energy is pretty good. He's coming out. He's confident. He's making it sound like they're going to do everything they can to keep T. Higgins, that Jamar Chase are going to do everything they can to get him taken care of. In fact, they're going to make him the highest paid non-quarterback position player in the league. That's pretty great stuff. Right? Like, I mean, it felt last week as if the Bengals were heading in the right direction. Today, it does not feel that way. They slapped the franchise tag on a disgruntled T. Higgins. That's not the problem I have. The problem I have is what came out recently over the weekend by the Athletics' Dianna Russini. The Athletics' Dianna Russini had let it be known, and she put it out in a tweet earlier because Bengals fans, for whatever reason, you guys attacked her on social media. It doesn't make any sense. You get mad at her for doing her job. She came out and said that the Bengals and Jamar Chase are far apart still in contract negotiations. Dianna Russini came out and said that the energy at the press conference is not matching the activity in the background. Last week was a show. You got duped. You got tricked. You bought into this front office knowing what the bleep that they're doing, I think. How are you so far apart on Jamar Chase? What is the holdup there? Guaranteed money. So for everyone out there that thinks that this team is going to be fine moving forward, if they're having a hard time getting the guaranteed money together, look at the troubles they had getting the guaranteed money together for Joe Burrow. They had to rename their stadium. Their stadium. They had to rename the entire stadium just to get the money to pay their quarterback. And when you start adding the contracts of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson before you even get to fixing the rest of the roster, where are they going to get that money up front? Now, because there's a difference between the cash up front for the signing bonuses and the guaranteed money. You have to have that money rolled up and you have to have X amount of dollars put in escrow to be able to fulfill the fully guaranteed money portion of all of this. They don't have it. They don't have it. They have cap space. They have X amount of dollars that they're allowed to spend to improve their roster. What they don't have are the resources to take care of these guys up front. And I've been called a hater for years for pointing out that this was going to be an issue. So if I come across as, I told you so, I'm sorry, but that's just kind of where we're at right now. What up, Shaw? Shaw says, good afternoon, Justin. Hope all is well. Congrats on the new sponsor. Yes, shout out to our friends at Frickers, jumping on newest sponsor of the Justin Kinner Show. We'll talk more about them coming up in a moment. Mark Smith says $26.2 million. What's not to be happy about? Yeah, by the way, T. Higgins, he gets the franchise tag slapped on him. If he does end up playing on the franchise tag for the Bengals in 2025, it's a $26.2 million fully guaranteed. Not bad. It's a pretty good day at the office. Troy says the Raiders are 16-1 to win the Horizon. LOL. Okay. Thank you for that. I don't know if your ears are working or if you know how to read or comprehend what we're talking about here. But if you just want to come on to be a jerk, as you usually are, that's fine. You can take shots at Wright State all you want. You put LOL at the end. That LOL, that's what I do when I looked at your profile picture when I pulled it up, buddy. I don't know what you're coming in taking shots at Wright State for when we're talking about T. Higgins and the Cincinnati Bengals. LOL. What is people's problem today? Did you have a bad weekend, sir? I don't know what your problem is, but nonetheless, we'll see what ends up happening. I will say I'm not mad that the Bengals franchise tag T. Higgins. I'm not. I think that was always going to happen. The problem that I have is the handling of the Jamar Chase situation, because that's the one I don't understand. That's the one that I don't get when it's all said and done. All right. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. For those of you who are out and about throughout the week, take advantage of Fricker's new frickin' lunch combos for $10.99. You get your choice of any lunch combo, one side and a beverage, whether it's the frickin' chicken chunks, big frickin' BLT, cheeseburger, charbroiled chicken wrap. The list goes on and on. Take advantage again of their frickin' lunch combos for $10.99 Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Make sure you go and check it out at your local neighborhood Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. All right, we'll continue on with this. Again, go to the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. Jump in the comment section. Why are you angry about the T. Higgins franchise tag? I'm surprised at how surprised a lot of you seem to be about this. I think that this was always going to be the case, whether they extend him or whether they trade him. I think this was smart of the Bengals, because if you put the franchise tag on him, at the end of the day, if you don't extend him, you're going to trade him and get something in return. This is a good thing. The only thing the Bengals could have done to screw this up would have just been to let T. Higgins walk away and get nothing in return. This is a good thing. I get it. The phone lines are open as well. 937-518-1410, 937-518-1410. We'll have more of the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers when we come back.
The Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers, right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
This is the story of the one. As a quality technician in a food processing center, she knows that making the right call
right, and we are back. The Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits, of course. Happy Monday. Hope everybody had a great weekend. We are off and rolling here to kick off the week. A lot to dive into. We're going to talk about the Reds coming up here around the corner. Spring training continues for them. But we talked about some of these headlines a little bit ago. The Cincinnati Bengals released Alex Kappa earlier today. Kappa made 50 starts for the Bengals since arriving in Cincinnati back in 2022. Although not official as of now, it does appear as if Mike Hilton could be leaving the Cincinnati Bengals as well. This would be in addition to the cuts from Sheldon Rankins and Alex Kappa made recently by your Bengals. We opened up the show with full reaction to T. Higgins getting the franchise tag slapped on him. We'll dive more into that coming up in just a few moments. Other big news out of the NFL regarding key cuts. The Super Bowl winning champs, the Philadelphia Eagles, of course, have released Darius Slay. Of course, that's going to be a huge target in free agency for any team that's out there. Obviously, with the Bengals having so much cap space, maybe that's an avenue that they travel down and look to bring a Super Bowl champion with experience into Cincinnati. Wright State's regular season is officially wrapped up. They now turn their attention towards the Horizon League Conference Tournament, which tips off tomorrow. They'll be at home at the Nutter Center, 8 o'clock to tip off. Robert Morris is the 1 seed. I'm sorry. IU Indy will be in town. They'll play tomorrow night. The winner will go to Robert Morris on Thursday night for quarterfinal action. The semifinals and finals will be a week from today. Semifinals a week from tonight, and then the championship a week from tomorrow night with a chance to get to the NCAA tournament. I can't believe we're already at that point where we're talking about teams wrapping up the regular season, but that's where we're at as far as that's concerned. So, we'll talk more about some college basketball coming up around the corner. We're going to be following, of course, Ohio State as they try to get an at-large bid. Their resume, their flow of the season has been a little up and down. Dayton Flyers, they got a win over the weekend. They won by 10. It took double overtime to do it, and they did it against Richmond. I think their at-large hopes are dead and gone, but it's just for them about getting hot and getting into a rhythm heading into the A-10 tournament, and they just have to do something that they have not done, obviously, in quite a few decades. So we'll focus more on that coming up here in a moment. But let's go back to the NFL. T. Higgins, franchise tag. No surprise, as I stated earlier, that news came out just around the time that the show was starting. A lot of people losing their mind regarding this particular situation, saying how dumb the franchise is. You want to know the dumbest thing the Bengals could have done? I'm here to defend them a little bit. The dumbest thing the Cincinnati Bengals could have done was to just not franchise tag them and just let them go and get absolutely nothing for them. I'm following on social media right now. There's a lot of Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans. Ron, I know you're a Tampa fan. He's in the chat, by the way, the Justin Kinder Show Facebook page. There's a lot of Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans who are pretty upset with their organization because they let Godwin just up and leave. Everyone thought that they were going to use their franchise tag on him. They ultimately just let him up and leave. And there's a lot of fans who are mad about that, who are Buccaneers fans, because, okay, if you weren't going to extend him, that's one thing, but why would you not slap the tag on him and trade him and at least get something back in return? Like, I think that's key. You know, I think that is key. I think the Bengals did the right thing. They did the right thing. They ended up making sure that they are going to benefit from T. Higgins in some capacity. They're either going to benefit from him being on the field for them in 2025, or they are going to benefit from whatever player or return that they get for him in 2025. No problem with the Bengals putting the tag on him. None. Dianna Russini with The Athletic let it be known over the weekend that the Bengals and Jamar Chase are still far apart on a deal. And I know we talked about that in the opening segment, just touching back on that again as we wrap up the Bengals portion of the show today. I think that that's important because how are you still far apart on a deal? I think Jamar Chase should be the easiest one. I mean, last year you had Duke Tobin and the Brown family come out and say that they were going to do everything in their power to keep Jamar Chase in Cincinnati long-term. That was last year at camp. And that was before Jamar Chase had a historical season. Only the 5th wide receiver in NFL history to put up the numbers that he did. So if you were willing to do whatever it took to keep him in Cincinnati long-term before last season, you should be even more motivated now to basically say, how about you just write up whatever the hell you want and we'll give it to you. This isn't hard. Well, Justin, that's easy for you to say. It's not your money. No, this isn't hard. Other NFL teams don't make it this difficult. Jamar Chase, you keep him in Cincinnati. You give him whatever the hell he wants because that's what you said last year. Duke Tobin goes up at the podium last week at the combine. Everything's hunky-dory over in Cincinnati. He agrees with his quarterback. He's going to spend all this money. You don't let good players just walk. Well, what's the big deal? Get Jamar Chase paid. Get him taken care of. I am much more alarmed by the fact that the Bengals and Jamar Chase are further apart on a deal than T. Higgins getting the franchise tag slapped on him. So we'll see. We'll see what ultimately happens with this when it's all said and done. But, man, if you know Jamar's going to be your guy, if you know T's going to be your guy, if you know Trey Hendrickson's going to be your guy, make him your guy and let's go. Stop. The distraction game has got to stop. They're their own worst enemies. They're getting in their own way. By not getting these deals done, it's becoming a distraction, and we haven't even got to the point yet to where we've gotten to the draft, where we've gotten to free agency for this team to have a chance to improve their roster when it's all said and done. All right. NFL Combine over the weekend. Kev, I think, is going to come hang out with us here in a bit. Kev's in the building somewhere. He said he'd pop in coming up in hour number 2. I do want to talk to him about Will Howard. Will Howard apparently had a horrific showing at the Combine. We'll talk about that in a moment. What up, Ro? So if you go to the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page, you could jump in the conversation in the chat. Ro says, I'm not upset with the T. Higgins tag. He's a Bengals fan, by the way. One of the biggest Bengals fans I know, and he comes out and supports us each and every Sunday during the Sunday morning tailgate show during the NFL season at Frickers. Appreciate Ro. But Ro says, I'm not upset with the T. Higgins tag. I think the Jamar Chase holdup is how much money they are willing to give up front. And I think, look, we've discussed this before about how the Bengals need to start operating more like a modern franchise. That's just how these deals are done now. All the money is given up front, and the Bengals don't have that money to give up front. It's repetitive, but I have to keep continuing to pound that point home with some of you, because some of you don't seem to comprehend that. Well, all these other teams do it. It's not that hard. All those other teams have the money up front. The Bengals clearly don't. They don't. So, either way. But, Ro, I hope you're doing well. Thanks for tuning in and hanging out. Let's go back to Will Howard. Will Howard is a guy that I was kind of mean to throughout the regular season for Ohio State, because I didn't buy into him being an elite quarterback. I didn't truly think that, like, when everyone said, man, the Buckeyes went to the portal and they got their guy, I initially thought, how much better than Kyle McCord is he? I mean, it's Kansas State. It's not like, I just wasn't impressed. I was not a Will Howard guy when the Buckeyes went out and got him. But I said, hey, you know what? Considering what was available in the portal, Cam Ward was available in the portal, by the way. Can you imagine? I mean, look, Will Howard did great. They won the national championship. Can you imagine what Cam Ward would have done with Ohio State's weapons? Whew, my goodness, the kid's already going to probably be the first quarterback taken off the board. But my goodness, that would have been something. But people, the way they talked about Will Howard when the Buckeyes landed him in the portal, you would have thought that they had Cam Ward 2.0 or 1.99. Like, it wasn't even close. Cam Ward is so much more talented than Will Howard. It's not even funny. I just wasn't sold on the get originally. Okay. So the Buckeyes get Will Howard, and Will Howard was very, very good. And that's all he needed to be. When the Buckeyes went out, especially having Trevion Henderson, you go out and you get Quinshon Judkins. All right, you have an experienced wide receiving core with Carnell Tate coming back, of course, and Emeka Egbuka getting to be the face finally of this wide receiving core, and then a generational talent, Jeremiah Smith, we had heard so much about, but we didn't know just how special he was going to be. Will Howard had an embarrassment of riches all season and looked good, never great. And there was just something about him that I kept telling Kev, and I kept telling everybody, I like him. I don't love him. He does his job. He stays out of the way. I don't think he's winning you games, but he's not losing you games, and I think that's important. Now, I said that in the buildup to the Oregon game on October 12th. The October 12th game, although he balled out, he threw for 300 yards and multiple touchdowns. It was fantastic. I thought that the moment for him that exposed what I was concerned about, the lights are too bright for Will Howard in Columbus, when he lost track of the time late in the game and slid to kill the clock when there was no timeouts. You weren't going to kill the clock, and you basically buried the Buckeyes' chances of giving them another chance to kick a field goal. So I was out on Will Howard at that point because I thought, hey, he's going to put up good numbers by accident when you look at the talent that's around him. We get to the Michigan game. He gets buried. The Buckeyes get buried. I was out on him. I had given up on Will Howard. I was just over it. And then Something happened. He comes out against Tennessee and absolutely torches Tennessee's defense. And Tennessee's defense has some good NFL dudes there. The Will Howard I saw against Tennessee, I had not seen that Will Howard throughout the season. I saw glimpses of it against Oregon. Didn't see that Will Howard since. Then they play Oregon again in the rematch at the Rose Bowl. And he made some throws in the Rose Bowl that I'm like, where in the hell has this guy been? Will Howard was lights out in the Rose Bowl against Oregon. Will Howard made some throws against Texas against NFL defensive backs that I thought were bad throws, but they were perfect throws, bad decisions. I didn't like the decisions of where he was throwing these balls because they could have been easily picked off. But my goodness, he didn't just have the confidence to throw it. He had the ability to throw it, and he got it there at the only perfect spot it could be to get it to the wide receiver and keep it away from the defender. He was lights out, and then ultimately leads his team to a national championship and balled out against Notre Dame, the number 2 defense in the country. I was all in on Will Howard at that point because Will Howard wasn't just the quarterback of a national championship winning team. He willed, no pun intended, Will Howard willed the Buckeyes to a national championship. The Buckeyes don't win a national championship with the Will Howard that you got games 1 through 11 in the regular season or games 1 through 12 in the regular season. They won the national championship because Will Howard had a come-to-Jesus moment and all of a sudden was making throws he hadn't been making all season. So I was all in on Will Howard for the Buckeyes to win a national championship. However, I've never once looked at Will Howard and thought that's going to be a top NFL quarterback right there. Never been super high on him from that perspective. I never once thought he had a legitimate shot at, skyrocketing up these draft boards. He's been graded as a guy that can go anywhere between the 3rd and the 4th round. So he throws at the combine over the weekend. And apparently it was so bad that he headed into the combine with a 3rd or 4th round draft expectation. It was so bad that he now has a 3rd or 4th round draft expectation. I don't care about the combine. I say all of that to prove a point. He was expected to go in the 3rd and 4th round heading into the combine. He had what many people deem to be the worst combine performance in the history of the combine, and he's still expected to go 3rd or 4th. He didn't hurt his stock. He had a chance to improve it, but I don't really care. Oh my gosh, he couldn't throw it to guys who were wide open with no defense out there. Yeah, but I did watch him throw it to guys who weren't wide open with NFL defenses covering them, and he got it to them on a dime. I'm all in on Will Howard being a very, very good quarterback. I think he's going to be drafted in the 3rd or 4th round. I don't think his stock was impacted whatsoever. I don't give a rip about the underwear Olympics. I think it is the most overrated thing in sports. I think it's so dumb. I mean, they're putting hula hoops on the ground and telling you to run in circles while we time it. We played those games in elementary school. Teachers had us do that stuff in elementary school just to kill time till we can get to the second half of our school day. I mean, these 18, 19, technically not 18, these 19, 20, 21, 22-year-olds running around in their underwear, playing Ring Around the Rosie around hula hoops, and that's how we're determining who's going to go make millions or not to the NFL. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I hate the NFL Combine. I absolutely hate it. What do you learn? I don't know what you technically learn at the Combine. It is the stupidest thing in the history of sports. But because the NFL is king, and it's a chance to talk NFL, and it provides me content, so I technically like it from that perspective, it is what it is. But I am not going to beat up on Will Howard for having a bad combine performance because he had a bad day playing catch with strangers. So what? So what? He had a bad day playing catch with strangers. I hate the combine. I'm not going to put stock into, even if, that's the thing. If Will Howard threw great passes to wide open, uncovered wide receivers in shorts, no pads, are you saying Will Howard's a first rounder now? No. It's ridiculous, guys. I appreciate the combine. It provides us some content, but overall, it's ridiculous. Do you agree? 937-518-1410. 937-518-1410. We'll open up the phone lines. I just opened up the phone lines, so you should be able to call in. Will Howard had the worst performance in the history of the NFL Combine. And that means what? What does that mean? I don't think any more or less of Will Howard today than I did before the Combine. The NFL Combine. They throw hula hoops on the ground, tell you to run in circles, and they're like, yep, he's going to be a Pro Bowler. Like, it's ridiculous. It is what it is. 937-518-1410. Does the Combine have a purpose? Do you like the NFL Combine? Let me know. Jump in the conversation. 937-518-1410, or you can go to the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page and jump in the conversation there. We'll be right back. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits.
The Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers, right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Save big money on your next project at Menards. Add a classic look and privacy.
The Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers, right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, and we welcome you back. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun food, sports, and spirits. You just heard it before coming back, but take advantage of the Frickers 3-for-all. You get your choice of 2 sliders, 2 frickin' chicken sliders, or 2 barbecue sliders served with Brew City fries and boneless frickin' chicken wings. And take advantage of that deal. 3-for-all for $12.99. Of course, you can use the app and earn double points. If you don't have the Frickers app, make sure you download that, use that. Obviously, you build up the points, and you'll be able to use those points for some free food and some other cool offers as well. So download the Frickers app. Head to Frickers, take advantage of the 3-for-all, $12.99. Again, great special right there. 2 sliders, 2 freaking chicken sliders, or 2 barbecue sliders served with Brew City fries and boneless freaking chicken wings. There you go. Okay. 937-518-1410, 937-518-1410. That's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. Will Howard apparently had a horrible combine. Okay, a horrible combine. Some are joking, saying it's the worst combine performance ever. I mean, he went through one time drill where he didn't make one completion. A lot of overthrows, underthrows, accuracy issues, this, that, and the other. But my thing is this. I don't think whatever happens moving forward for Will Howard when it comes to the NFL is an indictment on who he was as a Buckeye quarterback, a national championship winning quarterback. There are quarterbacks who are on a team that will win a national championship, and they made just enough plays to win you one, but they weren't the main reason. If Will Howard doesn't play the way he does in that playoff run, they don't win a national championship. If Will Howard plays the way he did in the regular season, they don't win a national championship. I don't really give a rip about Will Howard's NFL future. So the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page, make sure you like, subscribe, follow along there. Justin Smith, he kind of he messaged into the show and said, oh yeah, it's going to be the Steelers. He's a Steelers quarterback. I can see the Steelers taking a flyer on Will Howard in the 3rd or 4th round. I could see, there's a lot of teams I could see taking a flyer on him if you desperately need a quarterback. I think I don't know how high the ceiling is. I think the floor, it's about where you think the floor is when it comes to Will Howard. I find him interesting. I don't think he's a Pro Bowler. I don't really know what to make of him as an NFL quarterback. I just know what I think of him as a college quarterback, and he was the best quarterback on the field, winning that national championship, but that's all that matters. 937-518. If you want to talk about that or the Bengals and T. Higgins and the ongoing contract negotiations with T. Higgins, you can give the show a call, 937-518-1410. Let's go to Lucas to kick us off. Luke, we appreciate you waiting on hold. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir. What you got?
Yeah, I don't think anybody believed that Will Howard was the greatest player on that team or the greatest quarterback coming in the draft. I do agree with you that they put way too much stock in this combine, right? Like how many quarterbacks, look, Brock Purdy, Tom Brady, Dak Prescott, all late-round picks that all ended up being great quarterbacks. Brady, of course, the GOAT or whatever, but we're not talking about him like he was Trent Dilfer for the Baltimore Ravens. That dude contributed nothing to that team. It was all defense. That's not the team that the Buckeyes had this year. They were a well-balanced team.
Yep.
So that's my take. I'm going to sit back and listen. Have a good day.
Appreciate you, Lou. Thank you. And what he's referring to is the other part of the conversation about Will Howard. It was really just my thoughts on the combine. I want to like the combine. I want to get into it. I have a lot of friends who are football nerds that they speak combine. It's like it's like a third language for them, a second language for them. Like they're fluent in it. I don't get it. I don't know how to speak combine. So I watch it. I turned it on. I was in Indianapolis over the weekend with Wright State. We were staying at the hotel that all the families of the players who were there working out, all the NFL media was there, and it felt like a big thing. I'm like, man, I know the combine's big, but like this, it feels like there's a major sporting event in town. And then I went to my hotel room, I turned it on, and I'm like, no matter what, I watch it at home, I watch it on my phone, I watch it in the hotel room, no matter where I watch it, I just don't get it. I don't get it. What are you truly learning from guys running around hula hoops in their underwear, picking up a paper towel roll and dropping it on the other side? What are we doing? We're slotting guys in the NFL based on how fast they can run around a hula hoop. I don't get it. I will never buy into it. So that's what Lucas was kind of referring to, just not putting a whole lot of stock into that as well. I mean, there has to be some stock to put into it because I don't think the NFL would waste the millions that they do if it didn't provide something of substance. But either way, how many quarterbacks, like for instance, like if we're going to talk about how great these quarterbacks are in the combine, how much of it is just because they're good quarterbacks anyways? We saw Cam Newton. Cam Newton had a horrible combine. He'd go on to win an MVP. He'd go on to lead a team to a Super Bowl. I don't think the combine is a reflection of whether you're good or bad or not. It just is what it is. And my favorite part, I defended Shedeur Sanders on this. So many people were upset about Shedeur Sanders not throwing at the combine. And I don't have an issue with it. The combine, they're not looking for reasons to draft you. They're looking for reasons to not draft you. People act like, man, like Will Howard could have actually done something for you guys to feel excited about. You were just looking for reasons to hate on the guy. It's as simple as that. Like, there was nothing that Will Howard could have done. There is nothing that Will Howard could have truly done to impress you. You people that hate on Will Howard, you wanted him to fail, and you got what you wanted. Shedeur Sanders, had he thrown at the combine, even if he would have balled out at the combine and completed all his passes and threw some beautiful balls, you'd say, yeah, well, he's in shorts and a helmet. He's throwing to wide open receivers with no defense. You guys would pick it apart. No matter what you do, you will be criticized at the combine. Why open yourself up to it? Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, I don't blame you guys one bit. I don't blame you one bit for deciding not to throw at the combine. Is what it is. We'll see what happens. I got a lot to get into it about Shedeur Sanders, too. I don't know what to make of this guy, man. We talked about it on Off the Bench earlier. At what point where is the line of confidence and cockiness? There has to be some kind of gray area, right? You want your players to be confident in their ability. You want them to be confident in high leverage situations. You don't want the lights to ever be too bright. You never want the moment to be too big for them. So you want your players to be confident. But at what point does that confidence become cockiness and the cockiness becomes a hindrance to your team? That's what I want to know when it comes to Shedeur. I don't know, man. Like, I also have a problem with Travis Hunter. I'm not a big Travis Hunter guy. I think the guy's super talented. I don't think he's going to be as great in the NFL as you guys all make him out to be. You guys are so enamored by the gimmick of Travis Hunter, his ability to play wide receiver and defensive back. But when you break it down, so all this means to me is Travis Hunter is not one of the top wide receivers in this draft, and he's definitely not one of the top defensive backs in this draft. I know he won the defensive back award, but when you start looking at where he's slotted as a wide receiver and a defensive back, it's not like he's the best at any of those positions. So now you're taking a guy that, like, let's say he wasn't a defensive back. Where would he be drafted? If he was not a defensive back, if we're just talking about Travis Hunter, the wide receiver, he'd be drafted in the back of the first round probably. So is adding the fact that he is a solid defensive back good enough to move him all the way up to the possible number one spot? I think you're enamored by the gimmick. Like, you should never take a defensive back in the top, 3 picks to begin with when you have all these needs. I think it would be ridiculous of the Titans to take Travis Hunter. I think it's ridiculous. I'm not a Travis Hunter guy going high in the draft, that high in the draft. Top 10, sure. But even then, I'm still rolling my eyes at that. Are you drafting a guy that is a top 5 wide receiver and top 5 defensive back? I don't think you are. So if you're not, how good is he? So that just means that at all times you are keeping an average wide receiver and an average defensive back on the field the whole game. So Travis Hunter, we need you to be out there and be a average wide receiver. And now we need you to stay out there so you could be an average defensive back. You're going to drop a touchdown pass and then give up a touchdown on the very next possession. I'm not sold on Travis Hunter. I'm just not. I'm not. And I think the kid's way too damn cocky, and people get upset when you start being a little too critical of these athletes. Well, what's wrong with a little confidence? A little. This kid tried saying that what he does is more difficult than what Shohei Ohtani does at Major League Baseball. Shohei Ohtani, who is the best at what he does, and Travis Hunter, you are not the best at what you do. You're just not. You go to the NFL and then you do what you did in college, I'll shut up. But he dominated in college, not even going up against the best competition. And he hasn't even mastered the NFL yet. And he's sitting here saying that what he does is more impressive than Shohei Ohtani. I can't get on board with that. At what point, where does the line of confidence meet cockiness? Shedeur and him have that problem. That's my concern. That's my concern with both of them. Shedeur, not mocking media, but basically laughing at the media like, hey, if you don't want a franchise-changing quarterback, then I'm not your guy. I like the confidence, but that sounds like you're mocking NFL teams. You're challenging those who don't take you. More times than not, players who do that, oh man, I'm keeping a list of all the teams that passed up on me. That usually doesn't work out in your favor. I remember when Dwayne Haskins, RIP, I was a big Dwayne Haskins guy, but Dwayne Haskins was so pissed that he dropped in the draft that he literally said, he brought up the fact that he's going to make sure he remembered all the teams that passed up on him. Dwayne Haskins wasn't any good. He wasn't a good NFL quarterback. And it's like you say these things and everyone's like, well, I like the confidence and the fire of Dwayne Haskins. I'm like, but he wasn't a good NFL quarterback. So why say those things? If you go to the NFL and you become a good quarterback and then you want to let it be known like, yeah, and to think I had 12 teams that passed on me in the draft, or if you want to say something like that, fine. But man, oh man, there's a difference between people are like, oh, why are you hating on Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter? What's wrong with being confident? Confidence, one thing. These guys are at a whole other level. They haven't proven anything in the NFL. Everyone's like, what do you mean? One just won a Heisman. The other one's a top 2 quarterback prospect. Yeah, the other one is a number 2 quarterback prospect in a horrible quarterback prospect draft who accomplished nothing. The Big 12 was horrible. You couldn't even make the playoffs and win the Big 12 there. He had no success against top 25 teams. Like, what are we doing? Like I said, Travis Hunter, if you break it down, if he was just a defensive back and not a wide receiver, how high is he being drafted? Not in the top 15, maybe not the top 20. If he's just a wide receiver, Travis Hunter, where is he being drafted? Not in the top 15, probably not in the top 20. But because you are a wide receiver and a defensive back, that puts you good enough to go number 1 overall. I hope the Titans do it, and I pray the Browns don't do it. Man, oh man. Maybe I am just a hater. Who knows? Chad Kinster says, look who their coach was. That explains a lot. But see, Deion, I don't mind Deion being cocky. I don't mind Deion doing it. Deion has proven he can coach and win everywhere he goes. He can turn the culture around everywhere he goes. I'm fine with Deion being that way. Deion's Deion. Shedeur is just Deion's son who hasn't accomplished anything. He didn't win a championship anywhere. He didn't even get to the playoffs. I'm out on Shedeur. I don't want Shedeur in Cleveland. I just don't. I thought I did for a bit. I just don't. I don't want Shedeur. I don't even know if I want Cam Ward if he's there. But, the fact that the Titans are basically between Cam Ward and obviously, Hunter at this point. We'll see what ultimately ends up happening. Ron Howard says, both coached by Deion. What do you expect? Another shot at Deion. I'm not Chad and Ron and guys like, I get where that's coming from. But I don't know. I'm fine with Deion being that way. And Deion is empowering his athletes to embrace that confidence. I just think that confidence makes you look foolish if you end up not being as good as what you think you are. And every year we do this. And by the way, I'm not a hater. I know people are going to get pissed at my take on this. And I don't really care because they're going to try and spin it into something it's not. But how many athletes can have this confidence? Imagine athletes that go to the NFL that don't succeed, that had this confidence. Would you still praise their confidence then? You would say, oh, man, old takes exposed, right? You guys would do that. I don't know. I'm out on both. Out on both. Justin Kinner, 1410 ESPN Radio, The Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun food, sports, and spirits. I think Kev Nash is going to hang out with us. He's going to pop in studio when we come back. We'll talk Bengals. Once again, we'll talk about his Steelers. We'll even talk a little NBA. How about the Cavaliers? Could we be going down a road where LeBron James and the Lakers face the Cleveland Cavaliers in the NBA Finals? Man, oh man. And if that happens and LeBron can lose to the Cavaliers, that would be LeBron helping bring another championship to Cleveland. How cool would that be? But no, we'll talk NBA with Kev coming up later on in the show as well. Hour number 2 coming up next. Remember, we have the Wright State Coaches Show, the last Coaches Show coming up immediately following the Justin Kinner Show from 6 to 7. So keep that in mind. But hour number 2 coming up next.
The Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers, right here on